Good evening, this is the October 24th meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. And first up, we have appeal number 16-58. I move that the third and final extension to Augie Gruber's 937 Old Country Road, request for a second extension, well, third extension, right? All right, request for a second extension received September 19, 2018 for determination dated to December 8, 2016, granting variances to and/or relief of the provisions of Chapter 301, Section 222E to construct an addition which results in an increased gross floor area within the required side yard, a pre-existing non-conforming building, and an increase in the degree of non-conformity where the increases are not permitted. Do I hear a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Clarissa, you got the floor.
You want to start with the second?
Second one, yeah.
Appeal number 2019-42, Long Island Brewery, 817 Pulaski Street, Riverhead, tax map 600-124-224, industrial C zoning for variances and/or relief from Chapter 301, Section 122C, where proposed area of retail use is 20.3%, which exceeds the 10% maximum percentage allowed of gross floor area.
Good evening, Counselor, always good to see you.
Yes,
Please
good
state your name
evening.
and your address.
Kimberly Judd, 737 Roanoke Avenue, Riverhead, New York, for the applicant. I also have Greg Martin here, who's one of the principals of Long Island Brewery, and he's here to answer any questions that you might have. This parcel, I think a lot of you, the board members, might be familiar with as the former Agway site. Up until 2000, this was the parcel that was owned by Agway. The property contains 3.5 acres, and it's located in Industrial C zoning district, which requires a minimum lot area of 80,000 square feet, so this is a conforming lot. It's improved with 4 buildings, and Long Island Brewery operates the building in the front. In the past, as of this last April, they had a portion of the building, and then there was a cabinet maker in the other portion of the building. As of this past April, the cabinet maker is no longer there, and Long Island Brewery is able to occupy the entire building now. And as you know, they've been around for a while. They started making beer in 2009, and Long Island Brewery was one of the first production breweries allowed under the Town of Riverhead zoning code. As you recall, many years ago, the brewery use was only permitted in the industrial zoning district. And as we know, over the years now, it's permitted in DC1 and Downtown Corridor 1. And a little nuance in the code is, in the industrial C, they're considered a manufacturing use, which they're permitted as of right. It's a permitted use. Whereas in DC1 in Downtown Corridor, it's permitted by special permit, which the town board has jurisdiction over. And there's a little bit of a difference between having a brewery in an industrial zone versus having a brewery in DC1. And the reason why we're here before the board tonight is because of the nuance in one of those differences. In DC1, if their business was located in Downtown Corridor, they would be allowed to have a 70% manufacturing and processing area and a 30% sale and marketing area. And that's in section code 301-141B, 8, G, and H. So the problem here is that in industrial C, they're considered a manufacturing use, which is permitted as of right, but under the manufacturing operation in the code, they're limited to a 10% limitation of retail space. And I think there's a big distinction. If they were located in Downtown Corridor 1, they would be way under the requirement. They would be allowed to have the 30% floor area for the retail. But because they're in Industrial C, and Industrial C was never changed to correspond to the same microbrewery standards that are contained for DC1, that's why we're here seeking the variance. And I would just say that if you look at the manufacturing section, because the building department considers what the microbrewery and their production, and they produce on site, they're considered manufacturing. that the retail restriction to 10% was meant for a manufacturing business such as an automotive company, a furniture maker, a toy manufacturer, and I don't think that, at some point, we hope that the town board will allow the breweries in the industrial C to have the same sale and marketing area as it exists in DC1. So I would just submit to the board that there's no change in the character of the neighborhood. The building is not getting bigger. They just happen to occupy more space now since one of the uses left. They have the whole building, so they're not bumping out. I'm submitting to the board, of all the 12 neighbors that we had to notice for the public hearing tonight, 7 of them signed letters in support, including the church. Is it okay if I can hand this up?
Absolutely.
Okay. Including, and also Indigo Hotel submitted a letter, so I have a package for each of the board members. And there's 7 letters in support, and like I said, 7 of the 12 neighbors who were noticed tonight have signed, including St. Isidore's. And if you have any questions, my client is here as well, and we're happy to answer them.
Pardon? Sure. Any of the board members have any problems? I mean, I was down there this afternoon real quick, and beautiful setup. And I liked what the people that own the building, that they lease from, are doing with the property, so. I'll check that out in a second. Any of the board members have any questions? Anyone from Budweiser here to object? No? Let's have a reading.
I think it's mine, I'm looking for it. I think, Mrs. Wade can hit it on me. Oh, there it is. I move that the appeal of Long Island Brewery, 817 Pulaski Street, Riverhead, Suffolk County Tax Map number 600-124-2-24- Zoning for variance and relief from Chapter 301, Section 122C, where proposed area of retail use is 20.3%, which exceeds the 10% maximum percentage allowed of gross floor area, be granted in accordance with the applications and sketches with amendments thereto, if any, as filed with the building inspector.
Second.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Ms. Worthington?
Aye.
Mr. Whitmire?
Aye.
And I certainly vote aye. So best of luck. You guys have been doing a great job. Keep the place nice. Can't ask for anything more.
Thank you.
Has your engineer showed up yet?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's do number 3.
Okay. Appeal number 2019-47, Valerie Koroleski, 110 Peconic Bay Boulevard, Aquabog. Tax map number 600-86-221.12, RB40 zoning for variances and/or relief from Chapter 301, Section 15A1C, where proposed addition to deck is 8.8 feet from property line and minimum required is 20 feet, and Section 15A1D, where existing free shed is 0.9 feet from property line and minimum required is 5 feet.
And if you kindly raise your right hand, you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Kindly state your name and your address.
Valerie Koroleski, 110 Peconic Bay Boulevard, Aquabog.
Okay, Valerie, what are you looking for?
First, the shed, going back to a year ago, we had an old shed, and we decided to build another shed. And we moved it into the property. This year, we decided to seek a above-ground pool permit, which required us to get we were gonna get a pool permit, and it required us to get a new survey. So we had to get a survey that was less than 10 years old. That showed that the property line was about 10 feet, roughly less than we thought, bringing the shed now very close to the property line. So in order to continue with the pool permit, we need to get a variance on the shed. So that's the one. And then we also want to build a partial deck off of the pool, and that kind of brings it closer to the property line as well. That's it.
So I guess the old days where the old Polish way, I think the property line is here and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
It didn't work, okay.
And it's cute too, because we actually lost a zone to our irrigation system too. So I mean, this was like really way off from what we thought when we purchased the property 7 years ago, so.
Okay.
How do the neighbors feel?
Oh, they're fine. In fact, the neighbor to our west, which is where this property line, problem is, he didn't even realize that it was so far off, you know, so, but they seem fine.
I guess if they weren't, they'd be here.
I would hope so. The sign is up.
Okay. And they were notified.
Yes.
So essentially, you're looking for relief to maintain the shed in its current position,
Correct.
and you're looking for a side yard variance as well. And I don't see any other problems with it.
I don't, anything? You have nothing?
It's a pool.
Anyone out in the audience to be heard on this matter? No? Okay, let's have a reading.
I move that appeal of Valerie Korlinski at 110 Peconic Bay Boulevard, Aquabog, tax map number 600-86-2-21.12, RB 40 zoning for variances and relief from Chapter 301, Section 15A 1C, where proposed addition to deck is 8.8 from the property line and a minimum required is 20. And Section 15A 1D, where the existing free shed is 0.9 inches from the property line and a minimum required is 5 feet. Be granted in accordance with the application and the sketches with amendments thereto, if any, is filed with the building inspector.
So moved.
Okay. Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Worthington?
Aye.
Mr. Whitmire? Aye. And I vote aye. The appeal has been granted. In about 2 weeks from now, all the paperwork will be ready for you. We continue on with your project. The best of luck.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Okay, let's go for number
How
4.
come you didn't speak?
She wanted it approved.
Poor girl.
Yeah, go.
Appeal number 2019-48, Brixmore Riverhead Development LLC, 1768 Old Country Road, Riverhead. Tax map number 600-101.1, 8.1, DRC zoning for a use variance and/or relief from Chapter 301, Section 106, where proposed dental office is not a permitted use within the DRC zoning district.
Good evening, Counselor. You have the floor.
Yeah, good evening. Christopher Kent from Farrell Fritz, 100 Motor Parkway in Hauppauge, New York. First, I'd like to hand up a package for each of you so we can kind of go over it together.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, Counselor, what do you got?
Yeah, so first of all, I understand that we're seeking a use variance, and that's a much higher burden, and so I want to establish the standards that we think we meet for the granting of the variance.
Okay.
So the applicant is Brixmore Riverhead Development LLC, seeking a variance from this board to allow Aspen Dental to operate in a 3,500 square foot tenant space located in Building E2 of the Shops at Riverhead in the Destination Retail Center, DRC zoning district. This parcel is a 26-acre parcel, which is really Unit 2 of a commercial condominium map. Unit 1 is Costco, and Unit 2 is the rest of the stores in that shopping center, if you're familiar with it. The board has in front of it this evening the exhibits that I'm going to walk through to make our case in support of our application. These are the materials. So the first one is an aerial image of the Shops at Riverhead and some surrounding properties. Building E2 is the box in the middle, which is shaded in white and tan. And I have a copy of the overall site plan that was approved by the planning board. That's the second exhibit. Exhibit 2 is, contains 2 sheets. One is the overall site plan approved for the shops at Riverhead. Unit 1 is the existing Costco. Unit 2 is the balance of the site to the east, which includes way up in the front, buildings E1 and E2. The next page of the site plan is a blow-up of that detail showing the proposed Aspen Dental and the T-Mobile and Sleep Number stores that are being developed now in the building E1 and E2. Also, Exhibit 3 is a copy of some of the materials that were used by Brixmor to attract tenants to the E1 and E2 buildings. The first page is just a location map showing the property and some of the tenants that are in the surrounding area. The second sheet of Exhibit 3 shows the detail of the Brixmor shops at Riverhead. This was an opportunity to lease some of the available space within building E2, which is the 5,000 square foot building in the front. And Exhibit 4 is an affidavit from the leasing, Vice President of Leasing for Brixmor Property Group, Nick Andriatis, and we're submitting the affidavit to be part of the record. We also have here with us tonight from Brixmor Realty, we have Ruben Twersky, who's in charge of development of the site for Brixmor Riverhead Development LLC. So I just wanted to make you familiar with the exhibits, and then I'm going to go through my presentation. Aspen Dental is a retail dentistry use. Unlike traditional dental offices, Aspen Dental's business model is designed like a retail experience. Aspen Dental offers a full range of affordable to high-end dental products, including dentures, implants, Invisalign, is that how you say it, Invisalign? Products and others, the prices for which are all posted with the products, and they're available online for purchase. And the same is true for dental services at Aspen Dental, all the services that Aspen Dental offers. Also, like many retailers, Aspen Dental offers financing options for its products and services. Another feature that distinguishes Aspen Dental as a retail dentistry use as compared to years ago when you had the dentist in a medical office, dental practices are growing into more of a retail business where you can get new teeth. You walk in the morning and you come out with new teeth in the afternoon. You've probably seen the commercials on television. Brixmor respectfully submits, also like many retailers, Aspen Dental offers the financing options for its products and services, another feature that distinguishes Aspen Dental as a retail dentistry use. Brixmor respectfully submits that its request for relief should be granted based on the following. It will not be able to tenant the space and realize a reasonable return on its investment without the relief requested tonight. Having marketed the space extensively through brokerage firms and directly to more than 130 companies, Aspen Dental is the only company that has expressed viable interest in locating to the space. Another reason, the Northwell Health Go Health Urgent Care Center, a medical use similar to Aspen Dental for medical services, already exists at the northeast corner of Old Country Road and Cromer Avenue, which is about 0.3 miles to the west of this site, and is also in the same destination retail center district as the applicant. There are also more than a half dozen medical office uses in the neighborhood, specifically on Commerce Drive, which is immediately to the east of the shops at Riverhead property. The hardship Brixmor will suffer, and you can see that, by the way, if you go back to the map, Exhibit 1, we include on this map the Go Health Urgent Care Center just to the west, and directly to the east, the Commerce Drive offices, which are all medical offices right to the east of this property. So it's consistent with how the neighborhood has developed It's a consistent use. The hardship Brixmor will suffer if relief is not granted is unique and does not apply throughout the DRC district. The hardship Brixmor faces is the result of unfortunate timing and market forces in the retail industry beyond Brixmor's control, despite strong marketing efforts to overcome those unfortunate market conditions that exist now, today. The Shops at Riverhead is a brand-new shopping center in the town. It's been around for about 6 or 7 years now, but this phase of the project is fairly new, one that has not yet achieved 100% financial stability. A prolonged or indefinite vacancy in Building E2 will have an undeniable adverse impact on the financial viability of the center and its attractiveness to customers and potential future tenants. Brixmor is seeking limited zoning relief, limited only to Building E2 and not to apply to any other portion of the premises. In considering this application, the Zoning Board of Appeals must consider whether the application of the zoning regulations will inflict an unnecessary hardship upon the applicant. That's straight from Town Law, Section 267B2B. The applicant respectfully submits that upon consideration of the relevant
Yeah, I
factors,
fully understand where you're
that the application of the town zoning regulations in this instance would cause an unnecessary hardship upon the applicant. The applicant cannot realize a reasonable return for each of the permitted uses in the zoning district in which the subject property is located,
Okay.
provided that lack of return is substantial as demonstrated by the enclosed competent financial evidence. That's one of the factors that have to be proven. The town's destination retail center permits the following uses: retail stores and shops, hotels, car dealerships, banks, and warehouse and wholesale clubs. The relief the applicant seeks would be specific to Building E2, which contains a total gross floor area of 5,000 square feet. Due to its limited size, Building E2 cannot be used or altered to accommodate a hotel, a car dealership, or a warehouse or a wholesale club. Moreover, despite its diligent efforts, the applicant has failed to attract a retail or banking tenant for this building. Submitted for the board's review as part of the record is an affidavit from Nicholas Andriatis, that's Exhibit 4, the Regional Vice President of Leasing for Brixmor Property Group. In it, Mr. Andriatis details Brixmor's efforts to market and lease the space Aspen Dental seeks to occupy. These efforts include working with 11 reputable brokerage firms with a strong retail presence in the region. As detailed in paragraph 9 of the affidavit, Brixmor also marketed the space directly to 137 different companies in an effort to get a tenant, of which 67 of the companies are retailers and 18 are banks and other financial institutions, all without any success. The fact that the DRC district does not permit any food or restaurant uses further limited the pool of prospective tenants eligible to occupy the building. The second factor is that the alleged hardship relating to the property is unique and does not apply to a substantial portion of the district or neighborhood. The Town of Riverhead Planning Board approved the plans in Exhibit 2 for Building E2 on July 19, 2018, as part of an amended site plan for the shops. Consistent with the purpose and intent of the DRC zoning, the plan calls for a campus-style shopping center with a mix of tenants and building sizes. At the time, Brixmor did not anticipate the level of difficulty that it has encountered in trying to find a tenant for the building. Accordingly, construction of Building E2 proceeded following the amended site plan approval and is now nearing completion. At this late stage, Brixmor cannot alter the plans for Building E2 without incurring additional high costs associated with modifying and/or demolishing the building and seeking further site plan amendments to the approved plans for the shops at Riverhead. The hardship is therefore unique to Brixmor's particular situation at this point and does not apply generally to the DRC district or the surrounding area. The third factor would be that the use variance, if granted, would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. In this case, the neighborhood is the commercial corridor of Route 58. It is extremely diverse area, the area of the town in terms of the scale and nature of land uses, which includes big box stores, retail shops, restaurants, hotels, automotive retailers, banks, and a variety of offices and service businesses. The addition of the proposed 3,500 square foot dental use in this area of the town will not adversely affect the character of the neighborhood for the following reasons. The Northwell Health Urgent Care Facility, located at the northwest corner of Old Country Road and Cromer Avenue, is just 0.3 miles to the west of the building E2. Thus, there is already a precedent for this type of use in the DRC district. There also are more than half a dozen medical uses on Commerce Drive, including an orthopedist, a pediatrician, a spine and brain specialist, an ophthalmologist, an eye surgeon, and others. You can see where all of these uses are in relation to building E2 on the aerial map submitted to the board. Visually, Aspen Dental will be a storefront, like any other retail along Old Country Road. Therefore, while the actual use of the space will be different than would otherwise be permitted under the current zoning, the use and the form of the use will be visually consistent with the rest of the neighborhood and the rest of the center. Although the properties on Commerce Drive are zoned business center, they are still very much part of the same neighborhood, considering their location adjacent to the applicant's property and proximity to Old Country Road. The alleged hardship is not self-created. Brixmor developed its plans for building E2 with the good faith intention of finding a tenant consistent with the existing zoning. The market forces that have prevented Brixmor from finding a viable tenant for the space developed more recently and are beyond its control, despite its diligent marketing efforts to find a tenant that was permitted under the zone. For all the foregoing reasons, Brixmor respectfully submits that it meets the relevant criteria for the relief requested. Accordingly, we ask the board to consider granting the request of use variance for building E2. I have Ruben Twersky here. He could speak directly to the efforts that were made to try to rent the property to a use that conformed with zoning, and their inability to, despite diligent efforts, to find a tenant. Ruben?
Sure.
You're gonna have to be sworn.
If you kindly raise your right hand, do you swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Kindly state your name and your address.
Ruben Twersky, 450 Lexington Avenue, New York, New York.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. As Chris mentioned, our team, since 2011, has been marketing this asset for lease through the ups and downs of the retail world. As you know, Costco was the first tenant in there. That was a ground lease opportunity. And then we moved on with the project and were able to develop the rear portion with more big box options. As you get closer to the road, the way retail is moving is smaller shops and smaller in type retail than the big box. So as you can see, we have larger 40,000 square feet boxes. As you move up, you got Alto, which is about 10,000. When we actually started this project, Building E was 12,000 square feet that was going to be lined up with small tenant shops. When we started to try to lease that building, really nobody was interested because everybody wants what they call an end cap, right? And when these small box, they want to be on the corner. So when we started out there, we were marketing. We actually were able to get with T-Mobile and Sleep Number. They actually wanted less square footage. They actually only were typically about 3,000 square feet. But as we know, there's a minimum square footage as well in the town in this district of 3,500 square feet. So we actually pushed these tenants to grow a little bit bigger and actually become 3,500 square feet, and we built Building E1. We came back to the planning board and we were able to do Building E1, which is 7,000 square feet. When we out there and started marketing another 3,500 square foot tenant, as you can see in the affidavit, the amount of tenants we went to, we met with every brokerage firm on the island, even some of the national brokerage firms. The way Brixmor's set up, we actually have a local leasing rep who's Nick, who's mentioned as the affidavit, as Vice President of Leasing. We actually also have a full national team who basically goes out there to all the national tenants. And we went out to every one of them. We canvassed, we went out, we were trying to find newer ones. We had some limited food interest, but we know food is not permitted in the zone as well. Aspen Dental, who's expanding on the island, they typically, I would say, find local dentists, and they buy the firms similar to the Urgent Cares of the world, and they opened up in the retail shops. So when they approached us about the site, we got excited, and then we approached Chris, and he said, "Oh, they're not a permitted use," so we were stuck again. So again, we put it on all the efforts. I mean, I can go through the list of all the tenants we went through, but I think Chris mentioned, 137 different since 2011, and I think Aspen is I don't know if you look up and down some of the other retail corridors, either on the island or other areas, they're typically found in retail developments, usually towards the front of the building as well. Actually, precedent they're looking at right now is a lot of these banks that are going under. They're actually usually just taking over the bank buildings that are usually towards the front of these developments and on the street, and just taking over those. So we think it's a perfect fit for the area, for the center, and we request hopefully the board will grant the use permit.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
Counselor?
or-
You're good? Okay. So, Counselor, say if Mr. Whitmire dropped his dentures off early in the morning, could he get them whitened and back the same day? Is that the kind of operation?
I don't provide the services, but I think that service might be available, especially for Mr. Whitmire.
All right, a serious question. You must have a breakdown what these businesses do. What kind of breakdown is there as far as actual dental work they do, like cleaning, fillings and all that, versus the selling of the stuff that you consider retail? Any idea?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the exact breakdown. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is it heavy dental where they're doing fillings and cleaning and whatever?
That I'm not sure. I think it
Versus
also is
the-
probably dependent on the practice and what dentist is coming, what marketing plan. We can request that information, but off the top of my head, yeah. I mean, it is heavy on the retail, so.
What are some of the, give us 5 or 6 items that are retail, that somebody would come in there and buy?
I mean, it would be mostly affiliated with services, but as Chris said before, you got the dentures, you got all the other type of services that typically would do, so.
So they sell if you go on their website, you can see it, they sell Invisalign. You can actually order stuff online and get it shipped to you like you would with Amazon. So this is, they treat it, they have a bunch of products. Invisalign, they do the whitening, they have the mouthpieces you can put in with the bleaching and put them on your mouth. Those are the kind of things that they have. The night guards, so that I think they have something for snoring even, so those are the types of things you can order.
So there are a lot of retail products.
There are some. I don't want to overstate it, but there are definitely, there is a good portion of their business that would be considered retail.
You know, I have many dentists, but there are a few around where you can go in and get a crown made in their office or in their building because they have all the equipment. I wonder, is that stuff considered retail?
I would say the product you're purchasing is retail, and the service is not retail. So you're getting a retail product and a service in the same location.
Does Aspen do this, or you know? Yeah, okay.
I believe they do. I mean, if you look on their website, I didn't speak directly to Aspen. I probably could provide additional information directly from Aspen, but I did look on their website to see what kind of services. If I wanted to buy something, I could buy something online from
I
them.
think we can do that.
Yeah.
We'll check it out. Okay. Anyone else to be heard on this matter?
I would like to speak. Mr.
Sure,
Chairman.
please.
Chris, I just wanted to point out a couple things, and I might be wrong, but just off the top of my head. You said it was precedent setting that the hospital set up that walk-in clinic. I believe that that was done prior to the zone change, because they did add a hospital zone. I think it was in 216, so they rewrote the code. And I think it allows for 20 beds, and I think the town planning board approved the site plan for that. And they actually identified it as having 20 beds. I don't know how or why that happened, but they made it happen for the hospital.
Right, I understand they
I
did.
don't know if it's precedent setting, but,
I don't know if I said it was I said that our request is not precedent setting, is what I said.
Okay.
Because this type of use is already in the zone because of the urgent care. But the urgent care doesn't have any beds. I don't know if you've been there. I've been there a couple of times, out of necessity.
motorcycling? No. Well,
Actually, I hurt my foot one time, yes, on a motorcycle, and I went in to have an x-ray.
well, I mean, when you look at the purpose intent of the code, which is RDC,
Right.
DCR, excuse me, it really talks about big box stores and large spaces. And it also says that development is intended to have a campus-style layout with no strip or freestanding businesses that are permitted. So that being said, building E2 was just constructed, correct?
Correct.
So why would they build such a large building knowing that they had nobody to market it to over the last, say, 4 or 5 years?
Well, we were trying to
Why-
satisfy the zoning, so I did the site plan for this property.
Mhm. So was it 5,000 square foot originally, the building?
It was originally a 12, so the way the zoning works is you could, in DRC, the minimum building size is 10,000 square feet, except you can have 10% of the building area less than 10,000 square feet, but not less than 3,500 square feet.
Okay,
So unit 2 of the Shops at Riverhead.
which is also the mattress place, right?
Yes. So there was 120,000 square feet. There was 120,000 square feet on that side of in Unit 2. So you could build 12,000 square feet less than 10,000 square feet, but not less than 3,500. So when we came into the planning board, originally we were gonna do one building of 12,000 square feet, but it had kind of a strip center look to it, which was not good for either the tenants, the owner, or really the town. So we came back and said, how about if we change it, made a more campus setting look to it, which the planning board embraced. So we decided to do 2 buildings, one 7,000 square foot building, which would provide for 2 3,500 square foot stores that were permitted under the zoning, and then one 5,000 square foot building, with the idea that maybe you could attract a 5,000 square foot tenant. But in this case, the maximum we could get from Aspen Dental is 3,500 square feet.
Unfortunately, the 5,000 square foot tenants don't exist. Just this week, you got Destination Security, you declared bankruptcy, Payless Shoes. So you have all these,
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, you have all these small format, 5,000 square foot tenants typically who are all declaring bankruptcy, and leaving shopping centers. So, you're gonna see a lot of backfill with these type of alternative uses.
Yeah, yet the zoning provides for banks, which was added in 2006. And then, of course, they added in 2010 warehouse clubs and wholesale clubs. That's interesting. So it was kind of piecemeal in a way. But I'm looking at, of course, all of the purpose and the intent and the uses. What are you gonna do with the rest of the property?
So
That-
there's 1,500 square foot left, that we're actively marketing. We're actually probably
1,500 or 15,000?
1,500. So the balance, so
For the
everything.
whole parcel?
So the whole parcel, we have 5,000 square feet left to lease, and this is building E2.
Without building anything? Or is that, so there's no more future construction in
There's
the
no more,
back?
no more future
Past
construction.
Petco or whatever?
This is
it's-
it, yeah, that's all we have
So
site
that
plan
whole
approval.
corner is like all open space?
It's open space per what the
Why
planning.
was it cleared then? That's just a question, I don't know why it was
So
cleared.
they've maxed out their square footage unless they bring in TDRs, transfer development rights, which we'd have to go back to the
So
planning
you
board.
don't have TDRs right now, so you're maxed out based on the allowed use, but you have
Correct.
to purchase TDRs next?
Correct.
Correct, yeah,
And you don't have any plans for that in the immediate future, because you
Well,
don't have
we
any
were
big other
made to-
big box stores?
Yeah, we were made to plant wildflower field, which, that was a planning staff concept, and Jeff Seaman, and we went through a lot of work to get that those wildflowers to grow, and they grew beautifully this year. I don't know if you were out there at all.
I don't get that much.
Yeah, but Foxwood Village residents enjoyed it.
They were happy.
Yeah, they were happy.
They were happy when you cleared it.
Just to clarify your question, it's 5,000 square feet less to lease, all of 120,000 square feet is leased minus
That's
the
till you
5,000.
dig into your pockets and buy development rights.
Yeah,
After that.
and at this
Okay,
point.
so I'm just being
Exactly, at this point, we
practical.
have no intent or vision to do that, leaving the back as is, as a buffer zone, an open space. And after, if the board grants the use variance, we'll have 1,500 square feet left. And on those sizes, we actually have great interest, and we'll probably have to
So
come back.
you've been marketing this since 2011, but you built the building anyway because,
Well, we're currently under well, we got the modified site plan, last year, yeah, correct, and then we went through the building permits. Again, we really forced some of our tenants, to grow in size of that 3,500 square foot minimum. Usually them are a lot less. Usually in these small shops, you're usually looking at 25 to 3,000 square feet. So they were able to grow with us, because they wanted to be here. And after those two, we really lacked effort, but as Chris said, to satisfy planning board and building, we built both buildings at the same time. E2 is currently under construction, E1 is complete, so.
that's the mattress place you want?
The mattress and T-Mobile will be the second tenant,
Okay, and E2 is under construction?
is under construction.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, I looked at the website. God, they sell everything. It's just not a dental service they sell.
It's not just dental services, no, it's a lot of dental,
But
goods.
can
A
you
lot of-
go there and get a cavity done?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's what I want to know. All right.
Anyone else to be heard on this matter? All right. Let's move this to the reserve decision for next meeting.
I move that the appeal number 2019-48 for Core Riverhead Development LLC be decided for reserve decision at the next meeting, November 13th, which is a Wednesday, 2019.
Second.
Mr. Whitmire,
Aye.
Ms. Worthington,
Aye.
Mr. Barnes,
Aye.
and I vote aye, so see you folks on the 13th.
Make
It's
sure
not a
that-
Thursday, it's a Wednesday.
Wednesday.
So, just be advised. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, let's have the number one client up here. You want to make the announcement there?
Did the engineer show up? Let's rough him up. Carried away. It's a deck. All right. Deck.
Going to swear in?
Yes.
All right, let's do that. You swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Kindly state your name and your address.
My name is Matthew Crane. I'm a registered land surveyor and partner in the firm of Nelson and Pope. You may recognize this application. We had come before this board last summer.
Okay, hold on one second. Clarissa, I'm sorry, I jumped the gun.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Appeal number 2019-20, Darius Elahi, 180 Creek Road, Wading River, tax map number 629-133, RB 80 zoning for variances and or relief from chapter 301, section 219-14A, where proposed deck addition represents development in a restricted bluff area and additions to buildings within 50 feet of top of bluff are prohibited, and section 29A1C, where proposed rear deck addition side setbacks are 9.2 feet and 14.1 feet, and minimum required is 20 feet.
Now you can continue.
Thank you. You may recognize this application. We came before you last summer
Right.
for a number of variances. We petitioned you for Chapter 301, Section 219-14A, where proposed addition represents development in a restricted bluff area, and additions to buildings within 50 feet of the top of the bluff are prohibited. Section 29A1B, where proposed accessory deck addition is in the front yard and 3.77 feet from the side property line, and accessory structures are not permitted in the front yard, and the minimum setback to the property line is 20 feet. Section A1C, where a wood boardwalk is constructed in the rear yard at 7.7 feet from the side property line, where a minimum of 20 feet is required. Section 31, where a proposed combined side yard is 17.6 feet, minimum required is 45 feet. Section 222E, where proposed first and second story additions increase gross floor area within the required front and side yards, representing an increase in the degree of nonconformity of a pre-existing non-conforming dwelling, which was not permitted. The board agreed with our reasoning about conformity and the pre-existing non-conforming nature of the application, requiring relief for nearly any proposed action. After gaining the permit, the decision was made to gain a permit to push the existing deck out another 10 feet. This expanded deck requires relief from the restricted bluff area and zone restrictions and side yard relief for the deck. 9.2 feet and 14.1 feet requested, with a minimum required of 20 feet. On the surface, as with the earlier variances, they're considerable. However, they do not exceed the earlier grant that we gained last year. In fact, would you flip the... the west side of the house is already approved with 7.7 feet to the house and a deck at 3.77 feet. In this instance, with the expanded deck, we're asking for an offset 14.1 feet to the expanded deck. On the east side of the house, we're existing at 9.9 feet, and the deck currently exists at 5.2 feet, and we're asking for the expanded deck to be 9.2 feet off the line. We're already in conformance, if you will, with the prior grant, and feel that this would not further burden the earlier approval or the community. And in considering the application, we feel that no undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood, or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by granting the area variances. Many of the dwellings on Creek Road have similar or same size or larger decks, as you can see with that photo, right, left, and down the beach, there are large rear yard decks. The benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other feasible method. We are already in a pre-existing non-conforming situation, so any construction will require relief. While substantial in nature, the relief sought is not inconsistent with existing conditions in the neighborhood. Once again, it should be noted that none of the existing properties on Creek Road meet the B80 residential standards, not one. The application will not have an adverse effect on the environmental conditions of the district, and the construction will commence employing modern accepted erosion control and mitigation measures as required. While at least partially self-created by the desire to improve his residence, the prevailing zoning creates a need for relief by its very nature, and the construction of the dwelling predated modern zoning code that put it into this relief condition. For these reasons, we believe the application is worthy of relief. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Just looking at the survey, there's some encroachments, and I see there's wood deck in the corner. Whose wood decks are those? And are those any issues? Yes, you may. This area here, those are encroachments, so are they to be removed? Is that the neighbor's deck onto your property?
It is the neighbor's deck that is, at its corner is a foot over the line. And
Okay.
the railroad tie wall is over a small amount as well.
And that's not an issue?
I am not sure. I would say it would be the applicant's issue, Dr. Alahi's. It is, that 1 foot is right around the criteria of out of possession from a title company underwriting standpoint. The wall's a little bit more. It's relatively minor. He enjoys good relationships with his neighbors. I can't speak for him.
Just curious, more than anything else. So the title company probably made as an exception, I would assume.
They might,
If
that
they're-
foot is basically their, their
Okay,
cutoff point.
just wanted to see where you were with that. Okay.
Any other board members, any questions?
Nope.
Anyone out in the audience, any objections? Nothing? Let's have a reading.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I move that the appeal of 180 Creek Road, Wading River, New York, tax map number 629-133, RB 80 zoning for variances and relief from chapter 301, section 219-14A, where the proposed deck addition represents a development in a restricted bluff area and additions to buildings within 50 feet of the top of the bluff are prohibited. Section 29A, 1C, where the proposed rear deck addition side setbacks are 9.2 and 14.1, and the minimum required is 20. Be approved in accordance with applications and sketches with amendments thereto, if any, as filed with the building inspector.
Second.
Mr. Whitmire?
Aye.
Ms. Worthington?
Aye.
Mr. Barnes?
Aye.
And I vote aye. The appeal has been approved, and probably in about 2 weeks, all the paperwork will be ready for you. Continue on with the project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Do I hear a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And again, Mr. DeLuca, class, enjoy your pizza.
Can you give
I'm
that
sure
ribbon
I'll
to-
be only too happy to take it.